It is 5:30. We will call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Meisler,
Present.
Councilmember Beltran,
Present.
Councilmember Wyrock,
Present.
Vice Mayor Carrillo,
Present.
Mayor Flores.
Present. We'll now go into oral communications. This is the opportunity to address the city council on any matter scheduled for closed session. Unless additional time is authorized by the council, all commentary shall be limited to 3 minutes. Anyone here for closed session items, oral communications? No. Anyone on virtually?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the city council closed session items.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have 5 items scheduled for closed session this evening. The first is closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, conference with legal counsel existing litigation, Radine Strawn versus City of Porterville, United States District Court, Eastern District of California, case number 1-22-CV-1245, ADA-EPG. Number 2, Government Code Section 54956.9D1, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Eduardo Velasquez Jr. versus City of Porterville, Tulare County Superior Court case number VCU 304120. Number 3, Government Code Section 54956.9D1, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Yesenia Flores versus City of Porterville et al., Tulare County Superior Court case number PCU 304121. Government Code Section 54956.9D3, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation, one case in which facts are not yet known to potential plaintiff. And the last is Government Code Section 54956.9D4, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation, 3 cases.
Thank you. It is 5:31. We will now go into closed session.
does that. I'm always in the troublemaker, sir.
That's true. Is that what this is?
Yep.
I'm in the right place.
So what'd you think of that court decision today from the appellate court?
No, he's got issues. He hasn't started.
He does not have immunity.
I read the headline.
And then they also laid the groundwork for the other case from Colorado, stating that an officer of the government is not above the law.
Well, I agree with that.
Are we set? We're ready? It is 6:30. We will reconvene open session and report on reportable action taken in closed session.
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Thank you. I invite you to please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Meister and remain standing for an invocation or moment of silence.
Salute, pledge.
Is there anyone that would like to come forward and do an invocation?
Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this evening that we have to fellowship together and do the city's business. Lord, be with us as we weigh the trade-offs and do what's right for this city. Help us to continue to move the city in the right direction for the most good. And all these things I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, you may be seated. It pleases me to go into the next presentation, the swearing-in ceremony of Patrice Hildreth, our city manager, and we invite Judge Roper.
I get my dress on.
Okay.
Where's the makeup?
Good evening, all of you. Good evening. Thank you. I'm delighted to do this. I am sad, however, that this is going to be such a short-term thing. You've been a great asset to the city. I can only hope that you will change your mind and stick around for longer. All right, so can you put your hand on there, raise your right hand, please. And repeat after me.
I,
State your name.
Patrice Hildreth,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States of America
the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the Porterville City Manager,
the duties of the Porterville City Manager,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
on which I'm about to enter. Thank you.
So I am pleased to present to you Patrice Hildreth, the city manager.
I want to make one Patrice, Mrs. Hildreth. This evening, we have made history, and I want to say congratulations to Patrice Hildreth as the first woman to be sworn in as city manager for the city of Porterville. Her husband, Mike, and her daughters, Reagan and Logan, are here. I want to thank you on behalf of the council for supporting her and being here this evening. Family means a lot, and thank you. All right, may I please have the Strathmore Spartan football team come forward, please? This is wonderful. You guys can just kind of take a look. Yeah, there you go. It pleases us this evening. The City Council of the City of Porterville hereby commends the Strathmore Spartans football team in recognition of their outstanding achievement in the 2023 high school football season, culminating in their victory against Bell Gardens to take the CIF State Division 7A championship. Congratulations to the two-time state champion Strathmore Spartans.
So I'll try to make it fast, but I am a talker. Since 2001, our sole mission in Strathmore, California is to be tough, hard-nosed, aggressive, fundamental football team, play with fanatical effort for as long as it takes to win, and be the best. Tough, hard-nosed, and aggressive is an attitude developed in the weight room. 2017, we had the opportunity to win a state championship way back when, and the dividends from that effort was a beautiful new weight room that these guys got to use for the last 4 years. Tough, hard-nosed, and aggressive, developed in there. It's an attitude. Fundamental football means that you can play with the fundamentals and techniques that your coaches have given you. Our football staff has just under 150 years of football experience that these guys have been able to glean from. But even more important, they've been teaching boys to be men, high-character kids. It's a great football team. As we got deeper into the football season, awesome things were happening for them. They were playing with fanatical effort. Early in the season, we were very young. We knew this walking in. And we were just little kids learning how to play football. We were executing, but not executing at a high level. But as you got about to week 7, something clicked. And suddenly we were playing at a really high level as though we were a varsity football team. And then they just went on winning over and over and over. You get to that last football game, we had the fastest football player in Tulare County on our team, but he hurt himself the week before versus the San Francisco team. He didn't get to play. Any other team, their daubers would have been down, but someone had to pick up the flag and run with it. And it was Jerry Reese, a sophomore, who's been in the weight room, probably the second strongest guy on our field, reaping the benefits from 2017. This guy goes off for 225 yards, lead us to a 42-7 win over a Bell Garden team that was very good. 2017 reaped the benefits of this new awesome weight room. Well, these guys are the stadium builders because we're going to build a stadium in Strathmore, California that's going to be to their standards. Tough, hard-nosed, aggressive, fundamental football with fanatical effort for as long as it takes to win and be the best. To be the best, you got to win the last game. And yes, they did. And we're super proud of these guys. This is a great football team, and we're going to build a stadium in Strathmore. Thank you, guys.
Congratulations. This is exciting. I would rather watch a high school football team than to watch the Super Bowl.
Correct. Can we take a picture right there with these guys?
Absolutely.
Behind us? Yeah, can you guys go up
You
there?
guys want to come
Can we come
behind
around?
us?
Yeah.
Okay. We can be So somebody taking the picture? Okay. They can stand behind us. You can stand between us and stand behind us. Congratulations, congratulations.
Coach, you hold up.
Want to know every week.
It's ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's take it one more.
forget your certificate. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Now we move on to the Focus General Plan update.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and council members. On June 20, 2023, the City Council approved the staff to negotiate a contract with Provost and Pritchard Consulting Group to update the city's health and safety element and create the environmental justice element to meet recent legislation requirements in California. Provost and Pritchard Consulting Group is here tonight to provide you with an update on the progress, and we have Morgan Wright to present the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. So as you said, I'm Morgan Wright. I am one of the project planners on the Focus General Plan update. So,
Okay.
oh, thank you. Okay, so the city has begun a project to update the general plan to reflect some new legislative requirements. This update will be making focus changes to the health and safety element, as well as adding a new environmental justice element. As part of this project, we're not expecting any changes to your land use plan. The health and safety updates will be focused on new legislation related to fire risk, flooding, and climate resilience. And the environmental justice element is something that is required by the Planning for Healthy Communities Act, which requires certain jurisdictions to include these policies in the general plan. So we started this project in September of last year, and since then we've been reviewing several city planning documents, the existing general plan, and really all the planning pieces that are already in place to determine what will need to happen as part of these two elements. We're sharing the findings of that now at our first public workshop, and after this we'll begin to prepare the draft health and safety and environmental justice elements. And we anticipate being able to share those for the public review period in June of this year. Following that period, we'll make any adjustments that are needed to those elements so that they can be finally adopted in September. So I'm just going to give a really brief summary of our findings in the health and safety and environmental justice policy papers that are available on the project website. So first, for health and safety, these are recommended changes to the existing health and safety element. We looked at 4 issues in our policy analysis: climate adaptation, wildfire risk, flood risk, and military readiness. This was all driven by legislation. For climate adaptation, it was SB 379 that was driving the necessary updates. SB 379 requires jurisdictions to complete a vulnerability assessment and then to include adaptation strategies to address any potential climate hazards that were identified in that assessment. A lot of this effort was already completed as part of the Tulare County Multi-Jurisdictional Local Hazard Mitigation Plan, which included countywide analysis as well as a specific analysis for the city of Porterville. But we also looked at the existing health and safety element and the other planning documents that the city has in place to identify which hazards the city may experience additional impacts from due to climate change. So these are the hazards that are most likely to have an impact on the city, and those are climate change, dam failure, drought, extreme heat, and flooding. These are all addressed in more detail in the LHMP itself. And because they're addressed so well in the LHMP, we don't have additional policies recommended for the general plan element. Rather, we're recommending that the 2023 Tulare County LHMP be formally adopted and included by reference. SB 1241 is related to wildfire risk, and it has additional background information and policy requirements for very high fire hazard severity zones. It's a little difficult to see, but in the second map there, we've highlighted the very high fire hazard severity zones in Porterville. And it's really just 4 small areas that are planned for rural conservation, agricultural rural conservation, and then an even smaller portion planned for very low residential development. And because of the land use that's planned for those areas and the fact that there's very little area in the very high fire hazard severity zones, the current general plan policies adequately address potential wildfire risk. SB 5 requires jurisdictions in the Sacramento and San Joaquin Valley to address 200-year flood zones in their general plans, in addition to the 100 and 500-year flood zones that are already discussed. But there are no 200-year flood zones in the city of Porterville, so current general plan policies also adequately address the flood risk. And then the final pieces of legislation for the health and safety element that we were looking at were SB 1458 and SB 1462, which require additional coordination with the military in certain situations. Since the city of Porterville is in a special use airspace, we'll need to coordinate with the military for this general plan update, and we'll do that during the public review period by sharing the documents with the relevant agencies. So I'll now move on to the environmental justice policy recommendations. And this is for a new element that will be added to the general plan as part of this project. Environmental justice is the idea that certain communities face disproportionate health burdens due to environmental factors. So for example, people that live directly next to a manufacturing facility may experience different health effects from people who live farther away due to air pollution from the facility. So planning in this document would be focused on trying to mitigate those effects. SB 1000, which is the Planning for Healthy Communities Act, is what is driving the city of Porterville to include this element in their general plan, and it requires that communities meeting certain thresholds based on the CalEnviroScreen 4.0 mapping include this element. So the city of Porterville is considered disadvantaged on CalEnviroScreen. This is pretty typical for the San Joaquin Valley especially, because so many air pollution factors contribute to the CalEnviroScreen score. There are other factors as well, socioeconomic factors and other environmental factors that contribute to this, but many of the factors included in the score are related to air quality, which is why so many cities in the valley are required to include this element. So we looked at 6 different issues as part of this analysis: pollution exposure, public facilities access, food access, safe and sanitary homes, physical activity, and civic engagement. And I'm just going to run through the recommendation from each of these, but there's much more detailed analysis in the paper itself. For pollution exposure, things in Porterville are pretty well situated, pretty well located when we're looking at potential pollution sources and sensitive land uses like houses and schools. Our recommendation is that the city utilize the California Air Resources Board Air Quality and Land Use Handbook, which provides buffer recommendations for these sources, for pollution sources, such as 500 feet from highways. So our recommendation is that you would consider this handbook when considering additional development proposals. For public facilities access, we looked at several different public improvements, public services, and community facilities that the city offers, and only 3 of them really warranted any recommendations, and those were wastewater treatment, flood control and drainage, and transit access. And things are very equitable right now. Our recommendation is just continued monitoring of these facilities as additional development occurs, because improvements are likely necessary if there's more development to make sure that access remains equitable. For food access, there are really no concerns in Porterville. Grocery stores are well located. There's plenty of access to healthy food sources through the grocery stores and the farmers market. For people who don't live within walking distance or half a mile of a grocery store, there's transit access, and many people already own a personal vehicle, so access to those sources is also not a concern. For safe and sanitary homes, we also looked at several different factors and have some recommendations. For toxic substances, we're recommending programs to help increase awareness of warning signs for toxic substances like asbestos and lead in homes. And then for overcrowding and affordability, we are recommending programs to help increase awareness of resources to help increase housing affordability, and then also encouraging the construction of a variety of types of housing units to help support larger and multi-generational households, and also the construction of more additional affordable housing. For physical activity, this is actually something that Porterville has done a really great job of planning for. If you look at the lower map, almost all of the city is within half a mile or walkable distance of a park or a planned park. So there's really not much of a concern for physical activity. The recommendations that we do have are to help close gaps in the network, so for the bike lane and sidewalks, so that biking and walking are viable, active transportation modes to all your key locations, and then also to complete a visual quality assessment of those pieces of infrastructure to make sure that they remain in good working order. And then finally, for civic engagement, we have some best practice recommendations for public meetings. And these are things that the city also does a really good job with already. These are things like making sure, considering meeting in time and location to make sure the majority of stakeholders can attend, providing online access to meetings, providing childcare and bilingual services when it's possible, and then also providing alternative ways for feedback, such as online forms, email, and phone during public meetings. So as I mentioned before, these documents are available on the documents page of our project website. We also have a Get Involved page where you can sign up for email notifications, and that will be the best way to stay informed about when the public review period happens and when the draft general plan elements are released. And I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much for this report and giving us the information where it's available. Council, any comment? Councilmember Beltran? Councilmember Wyrock?
I just want to thank the staff for arranging this information so timely and the great report out, for the link that anybody can go to and get prepared for the ask that we will have for the community to share their experiences with us. Other than that, no, just thank you very much for presenting it.
Thank you. Councilmember Meister? Vice Mayor?
Thank you for the information, the website, and the timeline.
Good information. We'll continue to look on the website for more information. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, we'll now move on to the next presentation, the Southern California Edison presentation. Mr. Thoburn.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. It's a pleasure to be before you tonight. I wanted to provide a brief overview of a new state law that is going to restructure how electricity bills are going to be implemented in the coming years. And we get the, there we go. And then, what do I hit there? Okay. So let me just briefly get into this. The new state law was actually legislation last year, Assembly Bill 205, that was passed by the legislature and signed by the governor. And what it does is now will break down the electricity charges into two distinct categories. There's going to be what is called fixed charges, which are charges related to the cost of operating, maintaining, building the electric grid, and then providing customer support, and then the variable charge, which is the use, your usage for your bill. Up until this point, the electricity bills have not been broken down that way. You can see on your bill what portion of your bill, what charges come from like generation and that kind of thing. But this is in an effort for at the state level to try to bring some more equity into electricity rates. That's why the legislation was passed and is now going to be implemented. So the goal again is to enhance affordability of electricity for vulnerable residential customers. It makes use of the clean energy technologies more affordable, which will help the state meet its climate and energy policies for the future. The fixed charge, the way it would be broken down, it'll be based on, and ultimately the California Public Utilities Commission will determine what the actual rate structure will be as they set the rates for all utilities. But it'll be based on income. And so that's the difference with this new law, is that the fixed charge will be based on customers' income. The mandate, again, is to require fixed charges be based on income levels with a minimum of 3 income thresholds that will be determined by the commission. Electricity bills for lower income households would on average decrease with no change in usage because, again, the fixed charge would be broken out and then based on income. And then the CPUC has requested parties to submit proposals. So Southern California Edison filed a joint proposal with both Pacific Gas and Electric and San Diego Gas and Electric last year to provide a proposal on implementation, what it could look like possibly. And so that's what the commission is in the process of considering, and more than 10 parties participated in that process. And then the timeline this year is the commission must authorize a fixed charge framework by the 1st of July. And then it's expected that implementation would start next year at the earliest. So it really depends on what the final implementation will be, decision will be by the commission. So our role was we were asked by the commission, along with the other utilities, to present a framework for how this could work. So, is it the down arrow? I'm hitting down. Oh, okay, there we go. Okay. Thank you. So FC fixed charge, again, what we need to know. Again, today, the Southern California Edison customer bill is made up of several parts, and so they're not broken out, but again, they're in 2 categories: fixed cost, which relate to building, maintaining, and operating the electric grid, and then providing customer support. And then the amount of electricity, your usage, is what customers pay, and that obviously is not fixed. So fixed charges already exist, as I mentioned earlier, on a customer's monthly bill. They just aren't broken out and based on income, but you can see on your bill, on the part of the bill where it actually breaks out the different charges. This is not an optional program. The state law, AB 205, requires that the California Public Utilities Commission adopt a fixed charge by July 1st of this year, and then we will work along with the other utilities and the commission to implement it over the next few years. Again, the fixed charge concept originated with state legislation, so it was not a utility-driven request. We will not profit from the fixed charge. The process only restructures the existing customer bills to make it based on income. And I think it's an important reminder, there's a misnomer out there that we, Southern California Edison, most utilities make money on the amount of electricity you use. And that's not the case. The way we make money is that the California Public Utilities Commission, which sets the rates, they set also a rate of return on investment for us and the other utilities on the money we spend to build, maintain, and operate our infrastructure in the grid. And so that rate of return is how Southern California Edison makes its money. So the energy costs are passed through and something that we don't profit from. And again, with this, and then also provide incentives for customers to make greater use of clean technologies like electrical vehicles. And I think that is briefly the highlights of the new bill and what the state's looking at implementing here in the next few years. And if there's any questions, and then the last slide here has some useful information on, we have our own fixed charge information website, as does the California Public Utilities Commission. There's also the legislation, the actual language of the legislation that was passed, and then some other useful links there. So anyway, just wanted to take a few minutes this evening to provide some clarification on that.
First of all, I want to thank you for the information, and I want to ask if this could be made available to this presentation to our staff so that we can have it.
Yes. Mhm.
And I'd
Yeah.
appreciate that. Does council have any comment? Please, Councilmember Beltran.
I had a brief question. Saw an email today I was reading about, you're talking about the, for lower income individuals that could apply for support. I was reading that, I think there was a threshold of, a married couple, I think it was 500,000 or whatever it might have been. But the last I was reading today was saying that, I don't know what you call it, stipulation, whatever, didn't look like it was going to be passed. Are you aware of that?
Well, again, the commission will make, the California Public Utilities Commission will make the final decision. They have not made that yet.
Right.
So a lot is still in flux. We've submitted our proposal for how this could be implemented, but ultimately it will rest with the commission. And they're still
Debating it.
They're still looking at it, analyzing it, and again, by July 1st, they have to make a decision on what actual implementation is going to look like. So on income, when you get to those kind of specifics, that's something that the commission will sort out.
Yeah, it's interesting to read. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Wyrock, any comment?
Sure, thank you for the information as well, and I understand you're just a messenger, so please don't take any of this personally. But I've been tracking this for a while, and I'm wondering if you know if the California League of Cities prepared any kind of report at all for the CPUC in consideration of this new split out of the bill and the quote-unquote fixed costs.
I don't know, Councilman, but I can check for you. I know we have a Sacramento office. We did, as the bill was working its way through the legislature, we were neutral on it. So, but I'll be happy to check with our Sacramento staff to see if League of Cities did take a position.
Thank you. And then just a question, would you know if, like, the fixed costs, you mentioned for maintenance and construction and
Of the grid.
updating the grid, if you will.
Right.
Will there be an indemnification to ratepayers should something go wrong and a wire gets dropped in a windstorm and starts a fire?
Well, that is, right now, the whole indemnification issue would be with the state, but right now, we are liable as the utility. And so we have insurance, and unfortunately, over the last, decade or so with the catastrophic fires, we've been in that position, so.
But the state will take over.
Well, no, the state would have to look, the legislation would have to be looked at if they wanted to do a statewide indemnification. Specifically, I guess, it sounds like specifying customers is what you're saying. Because right now, we're liable if it's determined our equipment started a fire, which is why clearly we've been so active the last several years on wildfire mitigation, hardening our grid, safeguarding our poles and equipment.
The presentation before yours about environmental resiliency was noted, and I'm curious if your thoughts, maybe you don't have an opinion on this, but over the last 15 years, there's been a lot of spend on wind generation, solar generation. Did the cost to maintain the system, did the spend go down while we were building other infrastructure of a green nature? And could that have led to deterioration of the systems? Do you have a thought or opinion on that?
Well, I know that our spend is only going to increase going forward because of the drive for electrification. And I do want to pay tribute to the council and to the city here on your commitment, because you really are trailblazers for the valley in terms of utilizing your fleet electrification. So speaking for us on the electric side of it, the investments that we're going to be making, because ultimately the state's goal is for everything to be all electric. And so that's going to require significant investments now and going forward to make sure that we keep pace with the demand that's only going to increase.
So that leads to my final question. Thank you so much. And the city does work hard to be out in front of some of these items, and I think they do it well. My final question is there, to your knowledge, any type of restriction to the increase in the fixed costs over time? Like an adjustable rate mortgage can only go up so much per year. Is there a decade that, you know, the fixed costs won't go up no matter what the utility costs are? Or, you know, how is that proposed to track to
Well,
all
again,
the expenses?
Yeah, that would be something that would have to be sorted out by the commission, because they're the rate-making authority in all instances, whether it's setting electricity rates in general or certainly how the implementation of the fixed charge is going to be. So, and I think, I don't recall that being included in the legislation. So ultimately, that would be a decision for the commission.
Thank you. And again, I appreciate the message. It's always good to see you, and thank you for the report tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Meister?
Well, that was some great questions, Don. Thank you. And great job, Brian. And we've talked about this together, and, you know, especially with hearing environmental justice, and then I have a hard time saying equity as well. Some questions for you. With the base pay of 3 incomes, so say my in-laws are living with me and they're on retirement, is that going to be part of that income base?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, that's something that the commission will ultimately determine. I haven't seen anything that specific, Councilman, in the examples yet. So again, that's why I think implementation on this is at least a year out and perhaps longer, as the commission has to sort out those kind of issues that you mentioned and that Councilman Waymark mentioned.
Another question, and you're probably going to have the same answer then as this develops, but are there going to be race-based decisions on how this fixed rate is pushed?
Well, it's based, again, the fixed charge will be based on income levels. And so that decision on ultimately what those levels are, what they look like, those decisions will be made by the California Public Utilities Commission.
And I know this is far out of your hands, but it's a form of socialism, and it's frightening to see it coming forward. But I appreciate you showing up and presenting to us. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Councilman.
Vice Mayor?
Hello, sir.
Hello.
So just for, I guess you repeated this several times, but this will be adopted by July 1st and then implemented by early 2025.
Well, I think that's the commission's goal. It could be longer, it could be past 2025, but they have to act in terms of the implementation framework by July 1st of this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then with that, do you happen to know if prior to adopting the fixed rate in July or wherever after that, will they be taking input from anyone, or?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
government?
this will have to be, I mean, like all governing bodies, they're governed by the Brown Act, so it'll be an agendized meeting. They typically either meet in Sacramento or San Francisco, and there is public participation virtually and in person. So, yeah, the CPUC has its website, and they're subject to the same agenda postings for when they take this up.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. A lot of information, a lot of good questions.
Mayor, can I just ask one question, too?
Please.
Do you by chance know if they're doing this anywhere else in the nation? If there's a model that somebody's already done? Have you heard anything?
I'm not aware of that,
Okay.
Council.
All right, thank you.
All right,
Well, thank you all again. Appreciate it.
all right. We will now go into oral communications. This is the opportunity to address the council on any matter of interest, whether on the agenda or not. Please address all items not scheduled for public hearing at this time. Unless additional time is authorized by the council, all commentary shall be limited to 3 minutes. You will be asked to state your name and address for the record. We will continue to adhere to the 3-minute per speaker time period so that we can continue in an orderly fashion in our decision-making responsibilities.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Frank Rodriguez. I represent the Porterville Little League program. I'm here this evening to ask your help and support. The costs and expenses to run this program are getting higher and higher each year with our economy and inflation. This takes a toll on our limited resources. In order for our kids to play, we have to pay the city for use of the Burton ball fields as well as paying for usage of lights. We also have to pay the Burton School District for use of additional fields at Burton Elementary School for our T-ball programs. It costs $100 a day to use. Our program provides all uniforms, equipment, maintains field maintenance, upgrades every year. This also includes paying for umpires to run our games during the season. Our Little League charter and insurance are costs associated to run our league every year, which cuts into our working capital and budgets. That is about $4,000 annually that we have to keep our charter. On top of paying for rent of the fields, we are responsible for servicing our restrooms and paying the city to rent a dumpster and the weekly cost to dump them throughout the season as well. We pay refuge at $48.15 deposit, $48.15 weekly pickup, and $24 monthly fee for February through August. We then pay Prime Sanitation $85 for service, and starting in March, we will be paying at $680 a month. That will, and with their sponsorship covering half of the cost of a total. These costs are almost 55% of our working budget. The Porterville Little League Board of Directors are working together to bring sponsors assistance from community businesses as well as some of our coaches. We have a diverse population in this community, and some of these kids' families cannot afford our registration fees. We never turn a child or a family away. We do our best to work with the parents that ask for assistance. We have not raised our registration fees in 4 years, and they're striving to keep it that way. We just paid the city $4,400 for the use of the ball fields from February to May, but that does not include light usage for practice, and coaches will have to pay out of their pocket for the month of February. Under our contract with the city, we have to maintain the fields, and the Burton School District Maintenance Department will cut our outfield grass for us and fix any issues with sprinklers. They do not charge us for this service. This does not cover the months of May, June, or July during our All-Star season. Again, let me be clear that we need your help. Many of our neighboring cities that run Little League program do not have to pay the city for any of those fees.
Thank
So
you.
I'm basically trying to see if you guys can help us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please leave your contact information with staff.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like, please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor. John Coffey, contact information's on file. Couple of things tonight. The first one I've dealt with by talking to Edison. I've noticed that the decorative lighting around Menachie still has not been energized. The second thing is I'd like to commend the council for its progressive thinking on this resolution that is before you tonight. And in my opinion, it will enhance women's choices on medical care. It will also enhance the opportunities of parents for gender-affirming care for their children. So thank you for being progressive for a change.
Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Please do so.
Brock Neely, address on record. Fernando? An easy way to fix item 13 is just to follow the 10th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. That amendment reads, "The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people." And what they're referring to there is, according to Federalist 65, the people is you as a body, city councils, board of supervisors, water boards, etc. Covers everything that you want in that resolution. The other thing is, Mr. Meister reveled in telling everybody in the public what Patrice's pay was, so here's what he gets paid. That's a public record. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there someone else? Please come forward.
Good rainy evening to everybody. Jean Vafias here from Porterville, and I think you have the rest of my information on file. I'm just going to reiterate what I've already said it for the last 5 or 6 times we brought up this resolution proclamation. It has nothing to do with the scope and the duties of what this city has. You're asking something that has not the responsibility of the city. And as other people referred, it's already covered by state and federal rules and regulations. So therefore, again, I still strongly object to proposed medical freedom resolution presented by Councilman Greg Meister. I feel it is not the right of the Porterville City Council members to engage in political issues disguised as resolutions or proclamations. You do not have the right to mandate your own personal feelings, medical beliefs, or moral code as being representative of all the people in Porterville. It goes beyond the legal scope and duties of the Porterville City Council. Thank you. Jean Vafiatis, and I have a copy for everybody.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Good evening. Ed McCurvey. Nice to be here tonight. Sorry about that little cough. A couple of years ago, I probably would have got hauled out for coughing in here. It's great to hear people come in and talk about this medical freedom because it's a conversation the city needs to have. We just went through a process that there was a lot of overreach, and we, hear the folks that just came up. We don't have the responsibility to dictate what people do and force people to do things, and that's exactly why we're talking about medical freedom. That is the case. We don't want the city to be forcing people to wear masks or stand in places. We don't want this body to decide who is essential and who isn't, who gets to play ball and who doesn't. This city did a lot of things that everyone seems to be concerned about on both sides of this issue. The medical freedom is really just to make plain that we have to have the conversation about the things that happened, that really happened, the lives that were hurt, the people that were hurt, and we have to talk about what we will do to make sure that doesn't happen again. That's what the medical freedom resolution is about. And we want to make sure that we don't overreach again, because when we do that, we hurt people. People lost their businesses. People lost houses. People lost their livelihood because of the actions of cities and counties and states. That goes against the Constitution. The medical freedom just points us back to the Constitution as a guide. It's not to force anybody, it's to prevent the force from going too far like it did before. We have to be humble. We have to understand what we did wasn't all good. And we have to be, I think we have to be humble about it in a way that we can learn from it, and we have to be honest about it and say, you know, there were some things that we didn't do well, and we need to do better. And that's what this proclamation is about, or this discussion is about, is making sure that we don't make those same mistakes again. Keeps us on the right track. And you know, the 10th Amendment is right. Brock's right. That can't be mandated from the top. It's done here, but don't do too much. That's what the discussion is about. Make sure it doesn't hurt people. And it hurt a lot of people. And this body did that. And this body needs to reconcile that. This body needs to be humble and recognize it and make sure that it doesn't happen again. That's the good thing to do. That's the right thing to do. That's the professional thing to do.
Thank you, Mr. McCurvey. Is there someone else that would like to come forward? Please.
Good evening, Council. My name is Ryan Lazier. My information is on the record. I'm here on behalf of the Porterville Chamber of Commerce. I am an executive board member. Again, here to provide some information on what's taking place at the Chamber. I wanted to let you all know that our next Coffee with the CEO will be held on Wednesday, February 21st at 9 a.m. at Stafford's. This is a great opportunity for anyone to come and meet with other members and chat about any issues or situations that they're dealing with as a business. And it's also a great opportunity to talk with board members as well as our CEO. If you want to come by and have a cup of coffee, feel free to do so. Again, that's going to be on February 21st at 9 a.m. at Stafford's. We are also moving forward and accepting applications for our Junior CEO program. This program has been a great success in the Visalia and Tulare chambers. And it's something that we brought this last year, and it's been a great opportunity that we piloted with Burton Unified School District this last year. I had an opportunity to take my family and see the products of what the students produce. This is a program that we teach children the fundamentals of starting a business. And again, we are taking current applications for that. So if anyone is interested in applying for that program, they can contact myself or with Christy to get more information in regards to that program. But again, really fun program for the kids. I also want to invite you all to our next First Friday Coffee, which is taking place on March 1st. This will be at 7 a.m. at the Galaxy Theater. Our guest sponsor this next month will be She Mogul Media. So a great opportunity to learn about the business and also a great networking opportunity to talk to other businesses. I know I see all you at those events, so thank you for attending. And again, inviting you all to attend for that March 1st opportunity. As usual, thank you for this opportunity to speak out, and thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Mr. Lazier. Someone else would like to come forward, please do so.
Hello, my name is Corey Wells. My address is on record with you. I wanted to come up here and share my support for the resolution on the table that is related to the right to privacy as well as medical freedom. This resolution, in my view, has a lot of meaning to the people here in Porterville, and I believe that it should be passed tonight, and that one thing I wanted to kind of resonate when I read it is that this resolution provides an opportunity for this council to demonstrate lessons learned to their constituents, as well as a renewed commitment to honor basic rights, such as the right to privacy and also the right to make your own medical decisions. The language of this resolution doesn't seem to legally implicate the city in taking any responsibility for its historical actions and injustices this city took, but it does resolve those concerns. I believe that this is a good opportunity to display your respect for your constituents' liberties and freedoms in the Constitution as well. This resolution is important to establish foundational principles that will guide future generations in this city to comprehend the profound impact and damages and injustices that were endured throughout the COVID-19 era. the repercussions of which are still deeply impacting today. And I implore you to pass the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Is there someone else?
Good evening, Josh Flowers, address on record. So, a couple things. 2018, I was the president of the Porterville Little League, and to go with what was happening is that in 2020, that agreement, the original agreement about putting in the lights, came to an end. And so Porterville, that was the same time that COVID hit. And so the Porterville Little League wasn't operating at that time, so we didn't get a chance to even have any communication in that dialogue whenever the agreement was reset again. So the original infrastructure of the lights and everything was already paid for in that first agreement. So this one here, I think you guys do have some leeway. You know, I'll let you guys look at your budget, but it would help out the parents quite a bit as far as lowering the fees, or at least maybe giving some more people some opportunity, because even All-Stars, they had to actually lower the threshold, how many kids can actually participate, because we don't have the funds. So those are things we just want to get the kids more involved and keep it good for them. So now, going back to, if you guys need those original documents too, I have those, so I can actually shoot those to you if you guys want them. Now, going back to the medical freedom discussion we were talking about, I think it's really simple. You guys are doing a good job having this discussion. The lesser magistrate is leading in this, right? We're having the conversation here locally, and that is very, very important. Remember, all this is you're just putting some safeguards up, so if something happens again, we'll look at it and we'll just say, okay, how do we follow this to make sure that we don't get ourselves into any liability situations, like what was discussed in closed session tonight with Radine. So those are the things that we have to kind of pull apart from this and just figure out, okay, if something happens again, we don't want to get sued, and we don't want to infringe on people's personal rights. So I think everybody in here is kind of right in a way. It's just how you see it. It's just, but it's an important dialogue that we're having. I wouldn't spend too much time on it. You guys did a great job. A lot of work has gone into it. Thank you guys for all the work that you put in. But it's time to lead, right? So we got to make a decision. Yay or nay, and just move forward. So thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Flowers. Is there someone else that would like to come forward? Please do so. Do we have anyone on virtually?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. We will now move on to the reports. This is a time for all committee, commission, board reports, subcommittee reports, and staff informational items. So with regard to staff informational items,
Your Honor, if I may, there was a supplemental report that was presented concerning the Porterville Golf Course statistics. And I do want to make note that there was an error in the report that was provided in the packet. The numbers for November 2023 were actually $24,390.50. So we did make that the updated statistical report available to the public. There's some on the back table, and if anyone is interested, we can make additional copies.
Council, did you have any questions? They were pretty self-explanatory. No questions. No questions, no comment? Okay. We'll now move on to the consent calendar. All consent calendar items are considered routine and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these matters unless a request is made, in which event the item will be removed from the consent calendar. All items removed from the consent calendar for further discussion will be heard at the end of scheduled matters. We have items 1 through 11. How does council wish to proceed if there are no conflicts or noted items? Okay. I'm not hearing anything.
I'll make a motion to accept and approve the consent items number 1 through 11.
I'll second.
We have a motion and we have a second. No further discussion. Call for the vote. Passes unanimous, 5-0. We'll move on to the scheduled matters.
Thank you, Your Honor. The first scheduled matter before you this evening is the consideration of appointment to the Parks and Leisure Services Commission, and Acting Administrative Services Director Juliana Andrade will present this report.
Thank you, Ms. Hildreth, Mayor, and members of council. The Parks and Leisure Services Commission currently has a vacancy on the commission with the term set to expire in October 2027. City staff is in receipt of one request of appointment, which is provided herein for the City Council's consideration for Mr. Blaine Smotherman. The Parks and Leisure Services Commission serves in an advisory capacity to the City Council on matters concerning Parks and Leisure Services and is comprised of 8 members with staggered 4-year terms. To be eligible for appointment, individuals must reside within the City of Porterville and represent a cross-section of the community. The commission currently meets on the first Thursday of each month at 5:30 p.m. at City Hall. Staff has confirmed that the applicant's listed address is located within the city's boundaries. Additionally, I would like to add that staff has received information about an additional Parks and Leisure Services Commissioner who has just resigned from the commission, so staff has been asked to re-advertise for another vacancy. For now, staff's recommendation is that the City Council consider the appointment of Mr. Blaine Smotherman to the Parks and Leisure Services Commission to serve the remainder of a 4-year term set to expire October 2027. And this concludes the report.
Thank you so much for the report. Volunteers to the commissions are really hard to find and who are willing to work, especially with those that leave. Just like you're going to open up another position. If council is okay with it, I'd like to make the motion for the appointment of Blaine Smotherman to the Parks Commission to serve the
second.
remainder of the 4-year term. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call for the vote. Passes unanimous, 5-0. All right. We'll now move on to item number 13.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item 13 is the consideration of adoption of draft resolution of the City Council of the City of Porterville affirming its commitment to the principles of liberty and medical freedom. As you will recall, at the meeting of January 16th, the council provided input concerning the draft resolution to affirm the city's commitment and directed staff to provide an additional revision to the draft resolution for consider at this meeting this evening. The further revised draft resolution was provided in the council's packets. The council may consider and adopt this resolution as currently proposed and/or may consider other actions such as revising and converting the resolution to a proclamation that could be approved by the council or alternatively by specific council members, or it could take other action as the council sees fit. So with that, I believe City Attorney Liu has some additional comments that she would like to provide.
Thank you. As you'll note, there's really just minor changes that were asked for, and you had asked that it be brought back. So those are pretty self-evident from the resolution. I did want to say it. I already said it once in the very beginning, and I will just reiterate it. This is completely separate and independent from our ongoing litigation matters. This absolutely, I don't see this in any way, shape, or form as any kind of admission with regard to past conduct. The city has had a validly adopted ordinance in place at the time that it was enforcing. So I just want to go on record. I know that there was a variety of things said during public comment, so I just want to make sure for the record that has not changed. I don't see this any differently. And frankly, as I told you before, also my advice wouldn't change to you as to how to apply constitutional law and legislate and of the state of California and of the federal government. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you. I'm going to bring it back to council. Any comments from council? Councilmember Belton, Councilmember Wyrock? Councilmember Meister?
Well, great job, Julia. We always talk about, someone sniping you and taking you from us, and I could see like Hillsdale College wanted to get you after putting this resolution together, so great job to you. One spot where I believe we missed the applicable law, and it's in the beginning, it's the second, whereas the city council recognizes to the fullest extent permitted by, I'd just like it to say law. And when we go to law, we are going back to the Constitution of the United States. We've debated this, we've gone back and forth on it. You know, we all took a sacred honor and that oath to serve our city, the police department, our fire departments, and city staff in this room. We all took an oath to uphold the Constitution. It is, to my opinion, some constitutional rights were abused. Being business owner, having your business closed, or have to change the tactics on keeping your business open. Government decided who was essential, who wasn't. You know, we did force mask mandates. We did close parks. We did close or try to force the closure of churches. And we coerced people with $100 to take a shot. You know, we can't change the past, but we can learn from it. And so part of learning is bringing forth policy or a resolution that sets a standard for how we want to handle future pandemics for the city of Porterville. We can't control Sacramento, we can't control Washington, but we can take local control. I want to thank Councilmember Wyrock and Beltran for keeping it alive for another council meeting. And thank you all for all having your input in amending this to get it to a standard of a city standard. And, you know, I just would like to also point out just some of the things that are going on today in the wildness in our world. But, you know, we had a Supreme Court that just ruled against the state of Texas. And Greg Abbott, I printed it out here. There it is. You know, he stated the Constitution, and he is not going with the Supreme Court. And he stated the Constitution because the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And a state has the right to protect itself, and I believe the city has the right to uphold that oath that we all took an oath and swore upon the Bible to God and before our people. And so I just, with that, that's where I stand on this. And another point I'd like to make is our city attorney she just mentioned again that this is not going to impact litigation that is on the table. And not only that, but she has said this is the standard to what the city should be trying to uphold, and it's a document that she could legally get behind. And I'm not trying to put words in your mouth if you just clarify with that. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
I think starting off, I'm going to agree with what the city attorney just talked about, because it's so convoluted, the discussion and the comments that are being made to become the truth. And I think just basically what our attorney just said is this is not an admission that we did misconduct. We followed the ordinances and things that we had in place, and that is supporting our public safety departments, and that's what I feel our role is. Our role is not to write policy around things that don't have to do with city governance. And I feel that extending this meeting on and on and on and spending this amount of time of city resources, including the numerous hours we've had our city attorney revise and revise and revise, is taken away from all the other items on this agenda and all the other items that should be on the agenda that we should be spending time discussing. I've been to local events and have been been talked to about this resolution, and these are constituents from all different districts, and they're very frustrated with us about spending the amount of time when they all have other issues and concerns about the things that are going on in the city, including safety and just a lot of stuff that we do discuss and that we do need to spend time on. And for me, I absolutely support the different aspects of medical freedom, but for me to sit up here as a elected city council member, I am not going to be having this discussion for myself anymore. I don't think this is something that we should be spending this amount of time on. And I just think we need to come to a conclusion on it this evening.
I can appreciate all comments by council members. And I'm going to go back, that it's been brought to, we had it brought first in November, then in December, and then January, and now February. And once again, I'm going to stand firm with what I said at the last meeting and carry it over. This has nothing to do with city government. And I've said that we needed to be concentrating on the immediate needs, public safety, fire protection, crime prevention, the services for water, sewer, trash and recreation, et cetera. We had a good dialogue at the special city council meeting with regard to homeless camps. Those are the things we need to be having discussions. Medical freedom, I will respect all the comments that were brought forth by the residents that live in the city of Porterville. We have a lot of comments that were made. Respectfully, I have heard them, but they are not residents of the city of Porterville. They are in outlying areas. Now, I will say there is an aspect to this where those residents have their county jurisdiction, where Health and Human Services were the direct point of contact during the pandemic. And again, when the funds were dispersed and all of that, and all the guidance, it trickled to us. I understand that, but I want to put closure to this, that we shouldn't be having this discussion carried over. We have important matters that we need to be brought to the table, and that is my comment. I'm going to stand firm. I didn't even want this brought back over here. I voted no on it. I did, and I was one of, to have it here. I've had people that have stated, why are you having the discussions? It seems almost like it's a personal interest. It seems like it should be carried and respecting that, and not, again, I respect my colleagues on the dais, but they want to have answers to public safety. You have no idea how many times I hear that as a council, we're not doing anything to be very proactive in public safety to protect the citizens. My gosh, law enforcement was out on numerous calls this weekend, and those are the things we need to be talking about. Our fire department, another instrument, another component, because when the police department goes out, the fire department goes out on some of those calls as well. Those are important matters. Right now that we're having this atmospheric, these floods, the rains again, those are discussions that we should be having with the rains that are coming forth, that with all of that, what are we doing for the people in our community during this situation that's being forecasted, that's being projected? I could go on, but that's where I'm going to stop. And I'm just going to bring it back to council. And where is it that council wishes to go with it?
May I?
Please.
Thank you. Originally, I'm going to ask council if, our attorney, if you recall when the matter was first brought before us, was it a proclamation or a resolution?
Believe it was originally a proclamation.
And with that proclamation, the way it was worded at that time, I think the sponsor was Blessings of Liberty, brought forward by Councilmember Meister.
Correct.
Do we know, does Blessings of Liberty, is a nonprofit registered in the city of Porterville? To the mayor's point a moment ago?
It is a registered nonprofit in California.
Okay.
And I believe the address is Porterville.
Mr. Meister, do you know if any members on the board are residents of Porterville? I don't need names, I'm just curious.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. There was two that are on the outskirts.
Yeah.
But as all go, you come to Porterville to shop, right?
Yeah. I wanted to go back in time again to the original submittal. I seem to recall that it painted a picture that could have brought unknown risk to the city. Do you recall that with some of the language that was in it about past decisions by the council infringing on people's rights and et cetera?
Right, there was, it was sort of non-specific, but there were statements about, lots of violations, but no, no specifics, but still, it talked about specific, like, it was referencing unnamed specific incidents.
And actions, yeah.
And it was directed at all government, though, not just the city of Porterville.
Right, I don't think it was
It never
specifically
highlighted
related,
the
right,
city of
it didn't
Porterville.
say specifically the city, but it did say, there had been violations, statewide, nationwide, that kind of language.
Do you know if the organization or Councilmember Meister, have they submitted any kind of letter to any state or federal agency, law enforcement group, policy committees, and copied us on any of that correspondence, or was it just a local?
I'm not aware,
action?
they very well may have, but I can't speak for them, so.
Okay. Well, I think it's been very gracious of the city and the council to discuss this over time. Mayor, I apologize for being one of the votes that brought this back tonight, but and I'm sorry that it may have caused you to bill more hours to do another revision. I think when proclamations and resolutions come, they should be pretty tight. And now we've brought it up here on the dais, and now it seems to be our action. And I want to thank Fernando for printing out for me a document from 1902. It's actually Porterville Ordinance Number 1. Ordinance Number 1, fixing the time and place of holding regular meetings of the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees of the City of Porterville do ordain as follows. Section 1, the regular meetings of the Board of Trustees shall be held on Monday evening of each week at the hour of 8 o'clock at the office of the city clerk. Passed this 20th day of May, 1902, approved by Wilco Mentz, President of the Board of Trustees, attested by City Clerk F.W. Vele. Since ordinance number 1, we've issued many, many ordinances, and as you mentioned, Councilmember Meister, we've learned from the past. One of the things in particular here is we no longer meet on Monday evenings. We meet on the first and third Tuesdays and as needed, and other things. And so I asked for this delay for a week so I could dig a little deeper, and I came across our city charter, which allows us to be a legally binding city that can make laws, establish rules through the council and the actions of maybe some recommendations from staff and the public. And I use a phrase in the workplace that the water runs fast. The water runs fast on a river, and it's like we're on a bridge. And issues come, and they just go downstream. And I've heard it said that a person a lot wiser than me said, when you're on the bridge and something goes by and it kind of catches your attention, you got to be careful that it doesn't knock you into the river. Because then all of a sudden you're back here and you're just floating around back here. And I'll be short with this philosophy lesson, but the wise counselor suggested that we're not knocked into a river, but actually in a boat. And we're at the steering wheel. And we can either hit the throttle and steer up the river and get past that boat and past that bridge and move on up the river to where we're planning and establishing things. Or we can just sit in the boat and bounce around and end up in the wake, and 20 years can go by and you're still in the wake upset about something, whatever it might be. And he draws the parallel to a Thanksgiving dinner where somebody might hurt somebody's feelings unintentionally, but then 30, 40 years go by and the two close family members haven't spoken and somebody dies and they don't care. You know, when I asked to be appointed to this council, I haven't been elected. I was appointed. And there was a lot of video that I watched about this council. And I remember there was I don't know if it was a proclamation or a resolution, I don't recall. But there was so much force coming from one side of the dynamic, I'll say, that I remember seeing a mayor in tears up here. I remember another time where the community or certain individuals portrayed their position, their thoughts, and then they disappear. I can't agree more fully with the mayor and the vice mayor and probably all of us that there's more important things to talk about here. The city did not, in my humble opinion, break any laws enforcing any of the COVID requirements, but we learned a lot from that. We learned a lot from that. And I wasn't here to say, these businesses got to shut down. I heard about the shot card where you can get $100 if you get the shot. You know, I've told you before, I lost my mom. She had COVID. I didn't get the shot. My wife got the shot. It's personal decisions. We do have medical freedom in America. We do have the ability to abide by laws. We also have the ability to break the speed limit. I mean, on the 65, how many of us set our cruise control at 65? Or do we push it to 70 or 80? I know I saw red lights in my rearview mirror, so I'm speaking from experience. I make choices, we all make choices. And when this comes around again, I would expect this council to be wise and pause and really take a deep dive, because we are a charter city, and if we want to take the stance to oppose or go along with anything that comes down the line, well, we'll be held accountable for that decision. Either, you know, with the residents in Porterville, and maybe we don't win an election, maybe we do. Maybe we don't care about running for office because that's not what we're up here to do. But I'm with the mayor. We need to move on from this. And, you know, the staff time, the attorney time, you know, we updated our city council handbook to help guide us for future proclamations and future resolutions, maybe not the resolutions part. But I want to thank you, Julia, for all the help that you've given us, from your investment in us. I'd like to thank the council for it, especially their patience tonight as I shared what I just said. And as for the second, whereas, Councilmember Meister, whereas the city council recognizes to the full extent permitted by strike applicable law, you said constitution. So if I just put the word constitution in there instead of law, whereas the city council recognizes to the full extent permitted by the Constitution. Well, even that's up for debate, right? You take two attorneys and their whole team of people giving them the facts, and you bring them into a courtroom, somebody's wrong.
Yeah.
And yet they're both there with the same, just opposing argument. So this isn't about an argument. It's not about who wins here. It's a distraction from the city's business. I get what's going on here. And I just want to make sure that we fundamentally keep to the business of the city, respect everybody's freedoms, everybody's rights. The city, in my opinion, has never infringed on anybody's rights. And I'm looking forward to bringing closure to this tonight, however the council decides to move forward. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
And I want to thank you, because one of the most important things as we're seated and we're brought to the table on the dais is to always, first thing to do is to read what the charter says. And that's one of the things that was most important anyway. That's enough conversation. I'm going to bring it back, and I'm going to ask council, how do they wish to proceed?
I'll make a motion with the change from recognized to the fullest extent permitted by law, not the Constitution, but by law. And we referred to the federal Constitution and the state Constitution right above it. So that would be the amendment.
Yeah, just for clarification, I'm fine with just striking applicable. I do think we ought to keep law in, because I'll be frank with you, we
Yes.
don't just follow the Constitution. We follow, the laws that are written are, that's what we fight over, right? That's the debate, is always laws being consistent with the Constitution. Laws are supposed to be consistent with the Constitution. So I'm good with just taking
they
applicable
don't
out and
always,
having it be
right?
law.
So as a charter-
They don't. But if we tried to only follow the Constitution, we would be going against, we can't put ourselves in that position. We have to follow laws. Laws may get invalidated, and when they get invalidated, we don't follow them anymore. We might be the one, you might authorize us to challenge a law. And if we challenge it, then we go by what the decision is ultimately and whether it's constitutional or not constitutional. That's, and again, that's consistent with what I've said before.
So with striking applicable, leaving law in,
Leaving law in, yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to draft a resolution of commitment to individual liberty and medical freedom, and that's my motion.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? This is the time to do it. Not, call for the vote. Okay, it fails, 3-2. Thank you. We now move on to item number 14.
Thank you, Your Honor. The next item before you is the consideration of the Wall of Fame policy, and Mr. Moore will be presenting this staff report.
Thank you, Ms. Hildreth. Honorable Mayor, members of the council. The Wall of Fame was established at the Heritage Center in February 2004. The first two individuals, Frank Buck Schaefer and Carmen Martinez Oaf, were inducted into the Wall of Fame in 2007. Initially, the Wall of Fame placement procedure was introduced with the following guidelines. Honoree will be posthumously recognized for their significant efforts in service to the Porterville community. The City Council will determine the appropriateness of each nomination for placement on the Wall of Fame. Only the mayor and members of the City Council may submit nominations for this honor. The honor of recognition on the Wall of Fame shall be for a period of 5 years, and the City Council may, at its discretion, consider at any time the removal of the honor. On December 17th, 2013, the City Council approved the following amendments, which makes up the current policy. The Wall of Fame honoree does not have to be deceased. Each City Council member may select no more than one honoree annually. Honoree photos are to be displayed permanently. Display frames are to be added when more photo space is needed. Biographies of the honorees are to be consolidated into a book to be displayed at the Wall of Fame in order to create more space for honoree photos. Honorees must have lived in the Porterville area for a minimum of 15 years, and the honoree may not currently be serving as an elected official. In 2020, the Wall of Fame display moved from the Heritage Center to City Hall. A QR code that links the city's Wall of Fame page on its website replaced the book with the biographies of all the honorees. There are 69 individuals who have been inducted into the Wall of Fame since its inception in 2007. Staff received an inquiry concerning the potential selection of fallen fire captain Raymond Figueroa and firefighter Patrick Jones. Because of restrictions and the criteria, each council member is only permitted one selection per year, and additionally, each honoree must have resided in the Porterville area for a minimum of 15 years. Due to these restrictions, the concept of permitting a one-time exception to the Wall of Fame criteria was mentioned so as to provide the opportunity to honor fallen fire personnel. The council could consider a one-time exception to allow for their inclusion on the Wall of Fame, or in the alternative, the council could consider formally amending the Wall of Fame policy. Staff's recommendation is that the City Council consider the Wall of Fame policy and provide direction to staff. That concludes the report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Council? Councilmember Beltran?
Yeah, thank you for the little history on the Wall of Fame process. I brought this question up just as we got the information that we were looking for honorees for this coming year. And knowing that these two individuals who, paid the ultimate sacrifice for our community, I thought it would, and digging into that, I don't believe they both qualified for that, and I would just ask that council consider this one-time exception. Hopefully, this is not something that we have to do on a regular basis, given the circumstances, but this one-time exemption to allow for both of these, Captain Figueroa and Firefighter Jones. And also, a kind of a caveat to that was that in my personal nominees, it wouldn't be both of them necessarily. I would open it to if another member of council would like to also induct one of them. If not, if you guys have already chosen one, I'd be honored to still nominate both of those as mine.
Thank you for that information. Any comment?
Yeah, I have some. Raymond, Councilman Beltran, it would be an honor to join you in that, but I've already committed to nominating Ed Flory. And something I was thinking in on this, and if we amend this tonight, I am good with it. Firefighter Jones and Captain Figueroa paid the ultimate sacrifice in service to our community, and I'm all for honoring them in any way we can. So I was thinking into this, what if we did a separate category for fallen public service members, like, and it's something that, say, an officer is God forbid, gunned down in the line of duty or whatever it is, in a car accident or something else happens, which I pray it doesn't, but it's just part of life, right? So my thought is, what if we had a separate category for the public safety service members that fall in the line of duty? And that was my thought on it. Either way, I'm with you. I think this is a great idea. I appreciate you bringing it forth. And that would be my thought.
Councilmember Wyrick? Nothing right now, thank you. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I think I like the idea of nominating both. I think for me, the number one issue is the being respectful of the families and their wishes, that they would be okay with this. And also, so that's my very first piece about this. And I think this is such a sensitive topic for us as council members, but for the families and for our department and for this whole city. So that's the biggest one, is just that we're being respectful is kind of my utmost priority. The second thing I just have is I don't think we should implement a policy change at this time. I don't want to plan for this type of thing, and I don't think there could be a more deserving pair of young men that deserve this unique, change for this type of acknowledgement. And that's my thoughts.
Your Honor, if I may, I just wanted to let the council know that Patrick's parents are in the audience right now, so if they would like to comment on the topic or voice their support or...
Thank you, Patrice, and congratulations. We're just here to hear what you guys had to, think and say, and truthfully, it would be an honor, and we'd be very respectful of your decision either way. But I do think you're right. Maybe it isn't something you want to plan for, but things do happen, And certainly, any law enforcement that was, happened to have the same sort of fate would surely deserve a spot as well. But, of course, our boys have been honored at multiple sites for the fallen firefighters, national, the state, and even the one in Colorado Springs. And, we travel to each one of those, and our thoughts are every year we're going to hit one, so certainly would make a lot of sense to have one here as well. So we would I'll speak for the Figueroas. I know they would be in favor of it as well. So, any questions?
No, but I have comment.
Okay.
This has always been difficult for me, and for several of us who were physically there while the fire and the next day. At this moment, right now, I have no problem with going forward with a one-time to have both of them, and we can have another discussion at a later time to implement something, because we do have deadlines for Mr. Moore. So I'm going to make a recommendation without any reservation that we include both firefighters to the Wall of Fame for this one time and bring it to a future discussion to implement something for public safety at a later date. That is my motion.
I'll second.
If there's no further discussion, let's call for the vote.
Thank you, Your Honor. The next item before you, and the last item for the evening, is the status and review of declaration of local flood emergency. And I would like to call on Mr. Knight to provide just an update. I know he has been attending the Zoom calls for the National Weather Service out of Hanford, and if he could just shed some light on what we are expecting in the next couple of days.
Absolutely. Yeah, so given the event that occurred in March, I have been included in all of the weather updates that come out and been sharing those with staff and definitely been watching the storm. Southern California is getting more of the impact with winds and greater amounts of rainfall. We've seen some significant water over the last couple of days. And staff's process has been the same, much as it was in March. Sandbags, localized flooding. The wind definitely throws a twist into it, pun intended. Picking up a lot of tumbleweeds and debris, tree limbs, that sort of thing. And you've probably seen a lot of staff out through these events. There looks to be a break coming after the next 3 days. We're experiencing some rain into the evening. We should get a little over a quarter of an inch starting later tonight and rain through the evening and then into tomorrow, off and on all day, almost 3/4 of an inch, finishing up on Thursday with about 1/10 of an inch on Thursday. And then we'll experience a break up into the 18th where we're anticipating some additional rainfall and some thunderstorms on the 18th, and that's going to be bringing us about 3/4 of an inch during that time. So just continuing preventive maintenance, storm drain efforts, keeping the roads clear, any debris that falls, preparation for sandbags. See a lot of staff out there. Yeah, happy to answer any questions you may have.
Does council have any questions? No questions? Thank you, Mr. Knight.
So with that, the staff report, we recommend that the council receive the status of the update of the local flood emergency and review the declaration and determine the need that exists to continue said declaration.
I'll make a motion to continue the declaration.
We have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. No further discussion. Call for the vote. Passes unanimous, 5-0. All right, we'll now go on into the AB 1234 reports. This is the time for all AB 1234 reports required pursuant to Government Code 53232.3. The first one is Tulare County Task Force on Homelessness. We met on January the 17th. Claudia Calderon and I attended in person. There were no public comments. The minutes of October the 18th and November the 15th were unanimously approved. Brad Cottingham was nominated and voted in as the secretary of the task force. We were given an overview on Home Safe by Lisa Avila. A seasonal overview was given by Michael Montgomery of the National Weather Service for our area. That is probably something we should maybe a presentation one of these days for the weather forecasting. What he presents, it's really interesting, especially with what's going on right now. The American Red Cross reported on their community adaptation program. HAP information was provided by Noah Whitaker. There was a strategic meeting discussion. We spent some time in this discussion as we prepare for the planning session, the goals that were chosen and to prioritize them. Claudia always gives an excellent report, but since we had the the special city council meeting, a lot of that information was presented, so there is no need for me to go into it with how many individuals are being served. Think of Serena and how the SMART team is involved, et cetera. So that concludes my report for that day. And then TCAG, we did meet. It was very productive. It was, and it went quite rapidly. Jason Ridenour and I attended the meeting. No public comments. The transportation consent calendar, 2 items of action, the adoption of resolutions to approve transportation development claim acts for the cities of Dinuba, Exeter, Farmersville, Lindsay, Porterville, Tulare, Woodlake, and Tulare County Regional Transit Agency for the fiscal years 23 and 24. Then the 2024 California Safety Performance Management 1 target setting. Informational item was just status of federally funded projects. All of this was unanimously approved. Under the transportation action discussion item, 1 resolution was adopted and it was revised to Tulare County unmet transit needs definition and criteria. The remainder of the meeting was informational. Under the association consent calendar, the minutes of December 11, 2023, board meeting minutes, and the minutes of December 7, 2023 Technical Advisory Committee meeting were approved. Adoption of resolutions to amendment number 4 to the fiscal year 2023 overall work program, and local clearinghouse review for Allensworth Elementary, and to authorize TCAC to submit a sustainable transportation planning grant application. That concludes my report, other than we were reminded that our conflict of interest forms are due on April the 2nd, they're like here too, and that our next meeting is February the 26th, but save the date. The Spring Policy Conference will be Monday, April the 29th through Wednesday, May the 1st. In the Central Valley, it will be held at the Convention Center, and the featuring keynote speaker is Richard Kiki Torres. So that is for the San Joaquin Valley Regional Planning. So TCAG will be instrumental in that. Well, they're coordinating it. The Tulare County Economic Development Meeting of January the 24th. Patrice, Hildreth, Jason Ridenour, and I attended in person. There were no public comments. The meetings for the month of November, the minutes for the month of November and the financials for November and December 2023 were unanimously approved. The project and client services update, there are currently 33 active project files. The most active project for the month is a textile manufacturing company seeking a 50,000 square foot existing building or an expandable property up to 85,000 square feet. They would like a 10-year lease with potential to buy, and properties must be in the targeted employment areas. They estimate anywhere from 120 to 150 jobs would be created. Staff updates, board seat update, there is a vacancy, and that position would be for the Tule River Tribe Eagle Mountain designee. Staff was going to be attending the West Tech in Anaheim. I hope she made it safely because it started today. And TCEDC will be participating at the Tulare County Ag Show on February the 13th through the 15th. Economic Summit sponsorship updates were provided, and I believe staff will be getting that information out to us as soon as we get more information to that regard. That concludes my report. Our next meeting is February the 28th. And then we go on to the Mighty 190. Councilmember Meister.
Well, I attended the Mighty 190 Committee January 24th via Zoom. We had welcome and introductions. We went over mission statements and a history update for new members. Funding update, we have a total available of $51,643. There is a special purpose ARPA funds, which is $25,530 that has to be allocated by 2024 and spent by 2025. There was some ideas of purchasing merchandise or media advertisement just different ideas on how to spend that money or get it allocated. Transit media, went over the website, mighty190.com. We talked about some extras to the website, maybe adding secret destination, marketing downtown, maybe interviewing local business owners, and creating a business outreach kit. Road closure updates, the construction on Highway 190 just after Camp Nelson has been completed for the season. Doesn't mean the road's completed, it just winter came and so they stopped doing work. They'll start back up in spring. Forest access for alternate routes to Trail of 100 Giants or Ponderosas through Hot Springs, Parker Pass, which would probably be hard to get through today. We also heard from the Forest Service that they're going to be doing a 5-year burn plan over the next 5 years. Then we had some roundtable discussion, and something that caught my interest is there's a group called Save the Redwoods, and they are wanting to preserve 430 acres out of Alder Creek Grove, where the stag tree is. It's the 5th largest tree in the world, and they're wanting to make that a preserve. A little bit, and kind of stop the consumership up there. They're going to be coming and presenting, hopefully, Wednesday, March 27th, at our next meeting in person, and I'm actually looking forward to that because the goal of the Mighty 190 is to promote that growth and to promote consumership and get us on the map. And if we're making a preserve out of that land, I wonder if it may slow down that kind of growth. So that was my thought on it. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Internal Audit Committee, all right. We met on January the 24th. All Audit Committee members were present. And that was Maria Bemis's last meeting, and Janie Rodriguez will be that person. And if you haven't met her, there is our new finance director sitting right next to Julia. For under scheduled matters, the minutes of October the 25th were unanimously approved. Review and update of the investment policy. Maria Bemis brought forth the 2006 and 2023 investment policies. She provided us with the changes, revisions, and updates to current. Internal Audit Committee accepted the revisions and changes. They will be revised. There will not need to be brought back to the Audit Committee. We just said go ahead and make the changes. The review process for city community events. Last year at our October meeting, we began the review process of the city community process of the civic events. At that time, we were provided with samples of special event permit applications from the City of Lindsay, City of San Luis Obispo, and City of Stockton, including our application for a community civic event. Looked at the current process at this meeting. We discussed fees, deposit, 90 days minimum to process the application, employee resources, etc. There was good information, and at that time it was a discussion only. At this meeting of the 24th, we were given a current update as to the status of where it is currently. It will be brought to our next meeting in March with the elements such as the amended ordinance, implementation of fees, special events, community civic events. At that time, we will begin to task on that. Meeting was adjourned at 4 o'clock. Our next meeting is scheduled for March 27th. That concludes my report. The next one is the TCAC Sustainable Corridor Committee. Mr. Ridenour and I were not able to attend on that date. Did anyone provide a highlight?
Yes, Mayor. Luisa Zavala from the Community Development Department stepped in and attended for me. She provided me a quick update that the meeting was essentially a roundtable discussion of updates about the sustainable corridor projects. Within the city of Porterville, we have a few projects to note. Essentially along State Route 65 and 190, there's some landscaping projects that
Caltrans was nice enough to design, and our engineering department is working on getting the project together to go out to bid and then to get a encroachment permit from Caltrans to complete that work.
Thank you. The next one is the Tulare County Regional Transit Authority. Councilmember Wyrock or Councilmember Beltran? Who's, okay,
I'll get started.
Okay.
Councilmember Beltran was online as well as myself. I was running late, so I was not a voting member during any action they took early in the meeting. However, I did arrive later in the meeting and sat and have some notes. I do want to say there is a movement amongst the TCRTA, and Councilmember Beltran, correct me if I'm wrong, to, and we've heard it before, to seek out the city's grievances and to provide the information that the city's requested over the past year. They didn't talk, there was an earlier meeting, I think maybe in late December, early January, where they discussed receiving the letter that we sent for our withdrawal. And the board is very understanding, however, that they're hoping diligently for the council to reconsider. We should probably expect to see some dedicated effort by the Tulare County Regional Transit Agency and board members to come here and share updates with us. They're working really hard to try to salvage the relationship. With that, we did have a call to order, a welcome roll call. We had the Pledge of Allegiance. There was no public comment that I recall. There was no closed session item. We did receive some reports. The Executive Committee, there was nothing. The Ad Hoc Committee, there was nothing, but the Safety Committee did report out. They had some safety topics for the members of staff. There was a presentation on organization issues provided by Dr. Robert Babbitt. It includes 38 pages in the agenda of what that presentation was. It was very detailed on what the growth of, or what the opportunities are for the Regional Transit Agency to go from where they are today to a point in the future. It was kind of visionary. Councilmember Beltran, you have any thoughts on that part of the meeting? Next, we went to the consent calendar. We approved the minutes of December 18th. We received a monthly ridership summary, and then we moved into some action and discussion items. We approved the board committee structure. We had a couple of ad hoc committees that were meeting over time. They're working on creating standing boards. They did solicit participation on these boards, a finance board, and others. We received and filed the 22-23 fiscal year actuals and the projected budget per member agency, which also included Porterville, as we are still members. We had a 6-month performance goal for the executive director that was discussed. I did ask that they add another performance goal for our new executive, and that's for sustainability of the agency by training and promoting from within and creating a succession plan, as we've so successfully witnessed that's happened around here. And the board was happy with adding that as a performance metric to set up that type of human resource evaluation and promotion criteria. There was an amended resolution 2223 to purchase zero emission transit buses. We have to work fast on that. They don't want to lose the funding, and hopefully we don't. They put some activities together so that they can lock that in. We authorized the application for congested mitigation and air quality and carbon reduction program grants. So they're aggressively seeking out grant funding in various areas that will help the agency financially, and they're moving forward with it. I was pleased to hear that. We got some information about the branding project updated, and then we were reminded that the Form 700 is due April 1st. There was a request for other business requests from board members, of which there were none. There was an adjournment that happened, and the next meeting is on February 21st. And I'd like to share that they're planning a workshop that members in our community or from the council might benefit from attending on February 21st from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And then we'll start the board meeting at 4 p.m. And that typically goes to about 6:30. That's my report.
Thank you. The Eastern Tule Groundwater Sustainability Agency, February the 1st, was there a meeting?
Yes, there was.
Okay.
We met here in the chambers on February 1st. Michael Knight and I were present. For public comment, Mr. Phillips, the CEO of Friant Water, was here, and he came to the podium and he shared his perspective on the state of the ETGSA and some correspondence that's been going back and forth. His public comment and his concern was noted, and with that, we went into closed session. There was one case that was a potential case, I should say, with no report out from the closed session item. There was no public comment. We heard about the announcements, and again, they talked about the Form 700. The consent calendar was approved, which included the board meeting minutes from January 11th, and secondly, to pay the bills. We took action to consider an alternate for the ETGSA Finance Committee. They're going to revisit that later, so we didn't take action on that one specifically. We did take a look and approve the Four Creek scope of work for land subsidence, the management area, to make sure there's landowner coordination and some data collection. We took action to consider the approval of 2024-1 to approve execution of Section 215 of the contract with the Bureau of Reclamation to make sure that the water gets passed around properly. We moved through a couple other action items, an amendment to the joint power agreement. We might be making some additional changes. We didn't discuss it at length. We've made a few edits to the agreement. And then Self-Help Enterprises, they've been a value-added partner to the Eastern Tule GSA and to others, and we just reviewed a non-disclosure agreement. And then we received a report from Four Creeks on their accounting and invoicing. We had a report on governmental and legislative matters where we heard about some state advocacy efforts, where we are working with people up in Sacramento, different agencies, to try to get our program out in front of them. There will be some people from the State Water Board, I believe, here in town touring soon. Our director, Michael Knight, will be a part of that. We received a report on the stakeholder outreach and community engagement. It's very active, and the Eastern Tule GSA is working hard to get the information out. We held off on receiving a report on a draft of the 10th amended rules and regulations for a future date. We did receive a report from the Finance Committee. We received some information on the subbasin coordination with Thomas Harder and Company, some of their task items. And then there was a couple of items on a closed session for the end of the meeting that we did not go back and discuss. We did not enter into closed session a second time. Our next meeting date is Thursday, March 7th at 2 p.m. here in the council chambers, and we adjourned.
Thank you very much for that report. Okay, we're moving right along. Oral communications, is there anybody that would like to come forth under oral communications? No? Do we have anyone on virtually?
No, Your Honor.
We'll now go into other matters. Councilmember Beltran?
I'm not sure where to start. I'm trying to go through this fast here. Want to thank all the city staff out there, the road crews, field services, parks, clean up debris from the winds and the storms. I saw guys today on Prospect had the road tore up. I'm not sure if they're with water or sewer that they're working on. But just to seeing all this like army of staff out there just meeting this community's needs, making sure everything is safe, everything is functioning. It's just an honor to sit up here again and be a representative for our community. Let's see. I attended on Saturday the Porterville Library's 115th anniversary, I guess we'd call it.
Yes.
Madam Mayor was there and Vice Mayor was there. It was really interesting to see the history of Porterville, and I'm not sure if you guys were going to say this, but I get to go first. So 1857, I think, is when they were applying for the Carnegie grant, and the women at that time put that together, but they could not submit it because women weren't allowed to vote at that time, and so a minister had to submit the application for them. And here we are today swearing in our first female city manager. So Porterville has come a long way, and proud to be part of that. Let's see. It was neat to see the Strathmore High football team up here, and I thank the city for helping acknowledge them and their efforts and just the what they mean to that community. It's a small community that struggles, being kind of a smaller, but to the community, the parents, the staff, and the extended family and friends, just all that support. They've created a powerhouse out there, and it's just great to be in that environment. As we saw the coach up here, I was getting fired up. I wanted to go hit something, so that was pretty cool. Let's see. The Porterville Little League, I've talked with Mr. Rodriguez in the past about some of his concerns that are out there. I was actually on the Porterville Little League board, I think back in probably 2008 or 9. Their logo I actually created for them that they're using. So if there's, I don't know what our agreement is that we have with Burton Schools and what they're allowed to charge and whatever that, we could probably review and see if there's anything we could do to help, because I appreciate as much as things cost nowadays that they're trying to keep the cost as low as possible to benefit those in the community. So it's really neat. I remember getting applications for people asking to have the fees waived, and there were a few that were granted, and I think it's just a really neat that it's not a for-profit organization. They definitely are trying to be good stewards of their funds. Also, I was honored to be here for the firefighter badge pinning ceremony where they 5 firefighters and 1 promotion to a captain. And then also, unfortunately, I wasn't able to be with at the badge pinning for the 6 officers. So it's great to see the first responders in that endeavor and recruiting and hiring, those in our community. So it was great to see this large group coming on board. I did have a quick question about, so for those in the community, a lot of these meetings, not only just city council meetings, but committee meetings are on YouTube at the City of Porterville 4149 site. But I believe the Animal Services Committee's on there, the Project Review Committee, Internal Audit Committee, PATA. So it's just for those that want to see these meetings, if they're not listening to the reports, they can really learn a lot in the community by just watching these really neat videos. And then lastly, let's see. Just briefly on the Wall of Fame. Thank you. I mean, I didn't have a question if the council members would support that, but I know it's a sensitive subject, and I hadn't broached the families about that yet because I didn't want to do that without having approval first, so I had to do this step and then to contact the families. And it was great to have Firefighter Jones's parents here, and they were welcome and honored by that. So I was pleased to see that, because that was a question in the back of my mind as well, we don't want to, I wouldn't say reopen wounds, but just, we don't have to remind them of what had happened, but I'm glad that they were accepting for that honor. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wyrock?
Thank you. I'd like to start off by thanking all the family members that support all the employees that work for the city of Porterville. It's just huge. I mean, we've got people behind us that work really hard to help us get to work, to take care of business at home. And I've said this often, and I'll continue to say it. Really appreciate the families and of all of the employees that work here and their support. I want to thank staff for bringing in Provost and Pritchard to begin working early on the 2030 plan. I think that's great. It was a great report out. I learned a little bit there, and I'm sure I'll learn more as we progress through the year as they develop some solutions for us to implement here. The Chamber's report out on the junior CEO program, we heard about that again, so I don't know if they're still looking for more applicants. Does the city's Facebook page, is it possible to share things that are happening at the Chamber and help just, like reshare it and just try to spread the word on things? Or do we kind of shy away from that and just let different people do their own thing?
If that is the direction of the council, we'd be happy to. We've partnered on many things with the chambers, such as the Shop Local campaign that you may have seen that we ran October through December that encouraged people to shop at local businesses. So most definitely, we do, the city staff, the city partners with the chamber on many functions and on many programs, so we'd be more than happy to partner on this in the marketing aspect of it.
Okay. I'd like to thank all the public that comes to the podium and expresses their concerns. We take them seriously, and it is my hope that we continue to hear from the people in the city of Porterville and even neighboring communities about things that are on their heart. We on the consent calendar, we quickly approved all of the items, but I just want to point out the financial reports and the city's great stewardship of all of the finances. Today we were speaking, some of us here were speaking about the retirement plans for city employees. And it just makes me feel really good that we're conservative with the cash available. It's invested, it seems appropriately, and I'm glad that there's people that come together to take a look at how these investments are working for us. I wasn't able to attend the police ceremony with the pinnings. However, I was here for the fire promotions. It's really nice to see additional support, additional help coming to both agencies. The Tulare County Economic Development Committee, Madam Mayor, you mentioned that there was a company looking for some space. Were we a fit or maybe not a fit for them? Do you think they'll come to town?
Well, they will reach out. They work directly with community development. They would look out.
Okay.
And when that outreach is made, they would contact all cities and provide the information.
Then I have two more things. Thank you very much for that. Driving around town during the storm, I wasn't noticing a bunch of soil washing off of some of the bigger projects. There's good stormwater pollution controls, best management practices installed. So it was nice to see no dirt washing down storm drains. I'm sure they'll maintain them through the rains, and just a testament to the good planning that our engineers helped them get implemented here around town. And then, Madam Mayor, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot. Since we were talking about wages earlier, how much time a month do you think you invest in city business?
Of the $25 that I get for each
I'm
council meeting.
I'm going there next.
I'm going to let you know that I serve on 11 committees, and under other matters, I'll be reporting out as to where I've been and where I'm going, because it's been intense. And I would say average, it depends on the week, but on a good month, I would say, on a good month, every time is a good month. I put in weekly, about 30 hours weekly, straight across.
30 hours. And so it's 60 hours every 2 weeks, of which time you get $25 for
Yes.
60 hours
Yeah.
of work. Do you turn in?
25 for TCAG too, right?
No, no.
Do you turn in a
No.
mileage report?
No, the only time I turn in mileage is when I drive myself to my meetings in Visalia if staff doesn't take me. Because sometimes I have to be there for an agenda review before staff gets there.
And when you ride, you make use of that time. If you're
Exactly.
carpooling, talking about the city business and.
About the
maybe-
meeting that we're going to
Yeah.
and how it's going to affect Porterville.
Very effective use of your time. I need some direction. I heard that there's a way to make a motion that can get a second with no discussion, but it's a certain type of motion. And then if it's seconded, and there's no discussion. But I forget the Robert's Rules of Order that allows that to happen.
So because the Brown Act trumps Robert's rules, we don't utilize that particular motion. I kind of sort of know what you're talking about. It's like a procedural motion. But here, we don't really, it doesn't really apply in the Brown Act context because you're required to basically discuss and deliberate on your actions.
So if that were the case, I know that we've made motions here and seconded them and voted on them without it being on the agenda.
So to schedule future items, you're able to do that without it already being on the agenda. That's the one exception under the Brown Act.
Well, I would like to suggest that we have an agenda item to compensate our mayor a little bit more fairly for the dedication she puts to this city. And I've got a number in mind, and you might humbly just not want it, Madam Mayor, but frankly, I don't care. I think you've earned it, and I think that I would like to request if
So in order to do it, it would have to be a charter amendment. But you could
Exactly.
propose that, you could certainly, schedule an agenda item to consider a change, proposing a change to the charter with regard to, it could be council member, it could be mayor, compensation,
just
whatever,
mayor
just mayor.
is
So
what I
you
would-
can do that, and, but it would ultimately have to go to the voters for it to actually go into
Exactly.
effect.
Is this an election year?
Yeah,
Yes,
well,
it is. So if you want to propose charter amendments, they will need to be proposed and adopted on so that we can get them to the county mid-July-ish sometime.
and there's a cost for that.
Yes.
Yes, there is.
There is a large cost, so, yeah.
So
Have there been any other items that have come to the city that we're aware of that may be headed towards a ballot to where we're going to be spending some
there's
money on
always
the ballot
items.
anyways?
there's always items that we think about when we look at. So I will say, I happened to be looking at the charter earlier today, and it occurred to me that the last changes were made, that the last time we convened a charter review committee was in 2014. And so, or the last time we made change, no, actually, I take it back. We might have made changes in 2014. So that was 10 years, and typically we've done a 10-year rotational review. But trying to get a lot of comprehensive changes done, usually we would have already started that process because usually a charter review committee will meet. You don't have to have a charter review committee, by the way. So if there are specific things we can certainly look, kind of scan through, I can go through and bring those to the council for your consideration as to whether or not you'd like to put forth ballot measure or ballot measures to
Amend the charter.
to have the voters decide whether they're willing to amend the charter.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, I'd like to close my comments just to thank you for your investment in time.
Well, thank you for the
and-
compliment.
And to us and to the cities. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Meister.
I like that idea. I would add to it that if we were to go forward with changing the charter, that we allow the people to vote in who the mayor is in the future. And so that would be my add, and then if it was a paid position, then the people have a voice in who the mayor is completely. I appreciate Frank Rodriguez coming in, Little League. I have a conflict of interest here, though, because my son is signed up for Little League. But listening to him talk about the fees and being a nonprofit and trying to keep the fees for the parents and the kids down so they could afford athletic gear, whatever it is. I wonder if there's a way we could work. So I wouldn't mind looking into it. Obviously, I would have to disclose myself, but I would like the same information that Raymond was requesting there. And I do know that Burton charges a certain fee, and we're charging for electricity use. So if there was anything, we'd be waiving that electricity use in that sense. I want to thank Chamber of Commerce for the black tie event and the award ceremony that they had at Eagle Mountain Casino, and thank Eagle Mountain Casino for hosting us. It was a great event. I heard that night that Chamber of Commerce opened up or red ribbon cut 27 businesses last year in the city of Porterville, which I think is just fantastic. I noticed Michael Knight, now that he's the man of the year, he has a glow on the screen, so that's new. So congratulations, Michael Knight. There it is, that's what I'm talking about. So, and then I want to thank staff for starting the communication with the county with the project off of North Main, trying to figure out jurisdiction right away. different passages, and then also communicating with the mattress drop-off location. I know there are hurdles, and I just appreciate staff getting on it and going after it. January 26th, I attended a badge pinning for 5 new firefighters and a promotion of Renee Zavala to captain. And I personally know Renee. He's my father's neighbor, lives across the street. And so I know somewhat of his story and how he climbed from the bottom to the top. And so he's one of those guys that proves you can do it here in the city of Porterville. So it was a great honor to be a part of that. January 31st, I attended a badge pinning of 6 new police officers. It's such a great honor to see these public servants and so young. And then there was one officer from the sheriff department coming on, and just great to have him on, and excited for him. I also did a ride-along January 26th from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. With Sergeant Robert Richardson. And what an experience to get just a small taste of what our police officers go through every day. It started with a minor involved incident that was very traumatic, and I can't go into great detail, but I feel for our officers because they have to see it every day. Then came across a cocaine incident. We had a rollover off of Highway 65, and then we ended up arresting, or I can't say that. There were 3 felony arrest warrants, and they had a gun on them. And the officer couldn't tell if he was going for the gun or if he was trying to hide it, but he saw the gun. And just to see the reaction time of our officers and just the professionalism. Sergeant Robert Richardson, this guy is articulate, he's smart, he's on the game, he knows what's going on, he's just reading, he's driving and reading. I'm amazed by the man. He's 30 years old. And then Lieutenant Rose Gurule, am I saying that right? Close enough, all right. I really, this woman is like a mother hen. I mean, we would be on a scene somewhere, and you'd see her rolling up in the car and just driving by, just checking on her guys, her men and women, right? And she went off the clock at 1 o'clock a.m., and the incident with the 3 felonists happened about 1:45. And so she was off the clock, and then she calls in to make sure the guys were okay. And so I love that. I mean, what leadership, right? It was great to be a part of. I wish Chief Cogburn was here. I was going to rag on him a little. He's not even online. But, I'd like to do a ride-along with the fire department next, Patrice. And I mentioned that to Sergeant Robert Richardson, and he told me, well, you better do it in the day because they're sleeping right now. So that was pretty funny. It was good. So Flag Day has started back up, and the city is very involved with Flag Day. We set up chairs, we set up the speakers, microphone. We now have the fire department lowering and raising the flag, and the police department closing down Olive while we pull that big flag down. And I asked the group if they would have the city come on officially. We already have a representative, usually it's Alita that shows. And what I would like, what I'm asking of you, is that if you would select me or appoint me to the Flag Day Committee and make it an official committee for the city of Porterville.
That would have to be brought to the council. And if council is okay, it could be placed on the next agenda.
You could take action right now to add it to a future agenda.
That's what, I will go ahead and make the motion that we add it to the next council meeting.
And I'll second that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any further discussion? Call for the vote. Passes unanimous. Thank you.
That is all I have. Thank you.
All right, Vice Mayor?
Yeah. First, Councilmember Wyrock, thank you for, I think that was really good acknowledging the mayor. I don't know where that will go as far as changing the charter and that whole process, and you probably don't like the discussion about yourself, but I will say, you know, over the few years that I've been on council, I've been very grateful to sit up here with you because of your involvement. And I've always said that, you know, just seeing the way that you modeled that part of being up here, because that is a huge part of being a city council member that I don't think a lot of people realize when we sign up. I know I didn't. I didn't realize the amount of time that's expected for us to be there. And it's not always a good feeling when you can't be at those meetings and that our staff is there and, you know, other council members. It's very important for representation, and I think to me that's been the most challenging, one of the most challenging things is being available for those committees and boards that we all serve on, and every event and things that go on in the city and your involvement in that. So I just want to thank you for being a good mayor for our city. Next, I would like to congratulate our new city manager. Thank you, Patrice, for even being willing to step up to the position during your last year, and also to Mr. Ridenhour and every other staff that has also stepped up and taken on additional duties and roles and supporting one another. I want to thank you all for doing that and taking care of the city business so that we continue to move forward. I also want to thank Patrice's family for being here and for being open to support you to take on this role and additional hours and probably calls and texts and emails that you get all day and all night and all weekend. And then want to thank Mr. Lawless for being here tonight. I know he was here to show support to Patrice and the rest of the staff. And then I saw him sneak right out right after that. I also attended the library's 115th year celebration with council member and the mayor. And it was really good to be there. I'll just highlight a little different thing that I really liked was having the state librarian there, travel from Sacramento, and then having our city librarian, Vicki, there, kind of leading the celebration. But one of my favorite parts was the timeline that was shared over the years of the first library to where we are now and where we're moving forward. I loved seeing the old photos and history of our library, but also our city and the change over the years. Another favorite part that I had was in the audience was a variance of people and ages. And with that, different people shared their experiences of the library or libraries over the years. And just hearing all the different experiences was really heartwarming to show how we're all connected. So really looking forward to moving forward with the library in the upcoming year or two. I know that we all sit up here and thank our departments a lot. And it's so important because we all notice so many things daily and weekly and at these meetings. But as we hear what's going on with the different departments, what they're dealing with, and there's so much to acknowledge you all. But I think for me, what stands out this week is public safety and all the things that you have been dealing with in our city and to keep us safe. I just want to thank you, thank all the officers and dispatchers and people that work in the departments for all the work that you do around the clock. And just kind of really expressed by Councilmember Meister with his experience. I want to thank the presenter for the general plan updates. One of the things that stood out to me was when she acknowledged the parks, being pleased with the parks or the planned parks that we have. I think that goes to show the planning that the city does ahead of time and that they're always thinking of our community and the youth and the families with all the trails and walkways and bike paths and things that we have either in place or that are being planned, as she mentioned. Acknowledging some of those departments, but also Parks and Leisure. And one of the things with all this discussion around, different recent history of the pandemic, I just wanted to bring up some of the positive things that that department did during the pandemic. Was they kept ongoing activities. And I was always amazed, or how are they going to continue some type of activities during this time? And there was all these virtual activities and things that were going on for our public and our youth and community. So extremely creative. And then moving from virtual activities to coming back to in person and still having all these fitness programs, sports programs, recreation programs. So I just want to thank you for being always innovative for our community. And then with that, moving into the Porterville Little League, obviously I think we all feel the same. I grew up, my whole family played baseball and softball, so this is important to me, but I know that sometimes we don't get all the details from questions and concerns. So I'm not sure, Patrice, because a few of us have mentioned it, but maybe we could get a little update on, what does consist of those fees and where are we involved and can we make that change? And then when we bring it up to look at those fees, I notice a lot of times some of those things haven't been looked at for years. So is that gonna?
That is indeed the case. In
Okay.
This, yeah.
So I just wanted to mention that. And with that, just thank my peers up here for all your time and efforts and all the, time and service that you've been giving. And then just prayers for our community to stay safe at this time during this, the storms and rains and weather. Thank you.
Well, we don't want to go to 10:27, and we've surpassed 8:52. So I'm going to try to make this quick. I just want to say, again, congratulations to our new finance director, Janie Rodriguez, and I want to say welcome to our meetings. Mr. Knight, turn your camera on while I'm talking, please. You're not getting, thank you. Mr. Moore, you can too if you want to let us see you. I want to say once again, congratulations to all the Porterville Chamber Award recipients in their respective categories. It was nice to see the support each one had as they received their honor. Of course, while Mr. Knight was up there, he blurted out, let's take a picture, as he humbly accepted his recognition for the Man of the Year. And I want to thank the council members who were present and attended. I also attended the fire department badge pinning. I want to say congratulations to the firefighters that were sworn in, and I want to say welcome firefighters Edgar Madrigal, Tyler Mulhern, Richard Medellin, Joshua Holden, Abimel Shiyamura, and congratulations to Renee Zavala in his promotion as fire captain. Thank you to the council members who were present. On the 29th of January, Claudia Calderon and I attended and participated in the Porterville College Facilities Master Plan. It was nice to hear what was shared in the efforts to collaborate with stakeholders and local communities as the college works on revamping their facilities master plan. On the 31st, in the morning, of course, it was the police department badge pinning ceremony. Recognition was first given to the dispatchers that were recently hired, and welcome to the new 6 officers that were sworn in. Detective Dwayne Cornett, Officers Jamilex Vieira, is that close enough? Eduardo Orozco, Joe Soto, Jorge Aguirre, and Maria Tenorio. Shortly thereafter, once that happened, Patrice, Jason, and I traveled to the Tule River Reservation to witness the swearing of the newly elected, returning, and seated tribal council members, to congratulate them and present them with city challenge coins. Congratulations to the Honorable Chairwoman Charmaine McDermott. I will look forward to our continued projects with the Tule River Tribe. The day after our special city council meeting of the unhoused and the homeless, well, on this same date that we had the badge pinning and went up to the reservation, Claudia Calderon assisted me with the Homeless Task Force survey that was sent to all the task force members. I want to express, as we were going through this survey, it took approximately an hour and a half to complete. And we were sat there, but this survey was in preparation for the strategic plan that we have in February. It will be hands-on participation, and we're supposed to be going prepared to go into the discussion. Talking about the celebration of the 115th for the library at the Porterville Museum, it was a warm-felt celebration to meet the state librarian, and yes, there was a shout out to Wenatchee High School. I don't deny that. I couldn't resist that. He was very uplifting in his presentation, and at the very end, he wanted to know and asked the vice mayor and me if the city had received their allocation, because he wanted to make sure that we had received the funding for that. So that was good. Tomorrow morning, I will be leaving to Monterey for a CalCog conference and returning on Friday. It is the California Association of Councils of Government. This is like their League of Cities for the whole CalCogs in the state. This conference is under the auspice of TCAG. Supervisor Shaklian, who is the TCAG chair, I'm the vice chair, and Mayor Rudy Mendoza, who serves on the Policy Council. We will be traveling. I will be going with Mr. Ted Smalley, who is the TCAG executive director. I'm looking forward in attending this conference to work with other COGs from different counties. And so far, the breakout sessions that are outlined will be very educational. There is also a board of directors meeting on that first day. For me, it will be a newness because it will be the first time I've been invited to attend a CalCog conference. That's all I have to say. Are we making good time, Patrice? Okay.
If I may, though, Mayor.
Of course.
I just wanted to say, again, thank you to the City Council for your vote of confidence. It means a great deal to me. And I also wanted to thank you for your service, because what you do is no easy task. And I think I can speak for staff that we understand that, and just thank you for all the time that you put in. I am humbled and honored to work with such an amazing group of smart, talented people. They work tirelessly to make our community a better place to live and work. And I'm inspired every day working with them. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Fernando, you want to say anything? Better make it quick.
Form 700 is April 1st, if you guys don't know.
Well, we were told the second because of something.
Congratulations to Patrice.
Yeah, of course. Yuliana, thank you for being here at 5 o'clock. You didn't want to be late for this meeting. All right, it is 9:02.